Try to find a thing that you really enjoy. Try to find a thing that you're passionate about.
Like an activity.
Yes. For me, early on, it was drawing. It was illustrations. It was comic books. I wanted to be a comic book illustrator. And then it went from comic book drawing and illustrations to martial arts. But it was just another thing that I was very, very passionate about. And that was my vehicle out of my dilemma. That was my vehicle out of my own anxiety and trauma and my own issues and insecurities. And find something. Find a thing that you genuinely enjoy, because getting good at things you genuinely enjoy is extremely beneficial for young people, because it lets you know that, like, everybody thinks they're a loser. Every young person thinks they're a loser. At least a young person in the situation I was at. I didn't know I wasn't a loser until I started winning, until I started doing martial arts. Martial arts taught me that, like, I could get better at stuff, that I wasn't really a loser. I just was someone who was, like, in a fucked up situation. But you could channel all that energy that you have as a young person into something and get better at it. And then all of a sudden people admired me. I was like, this is crazy. So I went from being someone who was incredibly insecure and basically a failure to someone who was really successful at this one thing that was very dangerous, that other people were scared of. And that gave me immense confidence and also a real understanding of the direct correlation between hard work and success. Yeah, and also an understanding that you can't listen to people. Because even my parents didn't want me to do martial arts. They didn't want me to fight. They didn't want me to do stand-up. There's like, you have to understand, like, who you are, and then in the face of other people's either criticism or, you know, lack of faith in your ability to succeed, you push through, and there's great benefit in that. And then you realize that you can kind of apply that to other things in life. You can apply that to critics. You can apply that to social media commentators. You can apply that to a lot of things. I don't think there's a path for that guy that exists at this stage of his life other than that.
Do you think he'll be 70 and still screaming?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. 100%. If David and I are alive, we're both 70, he's going to call me up and say, "Stay hard, motherfucker."
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
So lean into whatever the fuck you are at this point.
Well, if you're enjoying it, but if you're not enjoying it, rethink your life. Try to figure out why you're not enjoying it.
You got to feed and strengthen your mind. Until you do that, you're always going to be in fear. Because fear is automatic. The human brain is designed for survival. It's not designed for success. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. That's your job. Right. And the only way you're going to do it is if you feed your mind, because otherwise, weeds grow automatically. My coach, my mentor, Jim Rohn, used to tell me, he said, "Tony, every day you got to stand guard at the door of your mind. You got to watch what's going in, because if you're not careful, stuff will go in." And he said, "Not all the times it's somebody who cares about you." He said, "You know, if your
family,
if your worst enemy puts sugar in your coffee," he said, "What happens?" I said, "You got sweet coffee." He goes, "What if your best friend by accident, or your family, don't mean to, they drop one drop of strychnine in your coffee, you're dead." He said, "So life, sugar, and strychnine, and watch your coffee."
Right.
So every day I decided, I'm old enough, honestly, there was no internet those days, and pretty ancient. I used to go to the library, because it's the only place you go. And I'd read biographies, I'd read people's lives, and it'd make me go, wait a second, as bad as I think it is, the greatest people in the world had it worse.
Sure.
So there's something here. So you feed your mind. Jim Rohn used to say to me, skip a meal, but don't skip reading. He said, read 30 minutes a day, I don't give a damn what it is. And today, I don't mean internet crap, I mean, read something, a biography, read something that's a strategy, read something that's gonna change your life. All of us, we could take our work and think of work as being like a gift. I personally believe that one of the greatest gifts outside my love that I can give another human being is my labor. But there's 3 gifts of labor you might have within your nature, meaning you can master anything, but under stress, people tend to go back to their true nature. And there are 3 gifts of labor that you can give. One of those gifts we might call the gift of being an artist, or a talent, or another word for it would be a truly skilled producer. Some people, the reason you know this is your gift is what you love to do is to create a product or service and deliver it to people, and you're enamored by that. the woman over here who was doing the work, if you recall, in hospice. She would be a perfect example of an artist. She's not in it. She wants to make money, don't get me wrong, but she would never trade the money for the impact. So when someone is in it as an artist, and by the way, most businesses are started by artists. There's somebody who was an amazing negotiator, an amazing fashion designer, amazing code writer. And they said, I work for this company and they don't do a good job for customers and I can do a better job. I don't work for them. And they start their own company thinking that the company is all driven just by the sales or the negotiation or the code or the fashion. But a company is much more complex than that, especially as it grows. So an artist is in it for the impact. And yes, they want to make money, don't get me wrong, but it's not the first thing and they won't trade it. When I talk to artists about selling their business, they look at me like I'm trying to sell their child. The second gift you might have is the gift of being a manager leader. A manager leader is someone who lives to manage people and processes. They love to figure out how to maximize a business by changing the gears, creating a new process, working with people. And those people love it. Now, they are not artists in that their talent or skill, they're not there delivering it directly to the client. They want to work on the people that are directly delivering to the client. They want to work on the system that makes this business work.
My brand is huge now, right? And one thing I fight with every day, I want to make sure I don't dilute the brand. I don't do anything, make any major mistakes, because any mistake will hurt your brand. And so those are the things that keep me up at night, just making sure my brand remains strong. And so that's a good message for all these young men and women watching your show, is make sure that your brand is everything. And you will always be able to make money if your brand is strong. When I did my research and starting a business, the most important thing you have to do, and a lot of you in here someday want to be like Larry and like Mr. Brent, is that you have to first stop being fearful. A lot of you will block your own success because you're fearful of what's going to happen, because the comfort zone is here. Make a great living, my bills are paid, everything is great. Oh, I'm scared to change. So you block your own growth. Just like me in my business, I know my demos. I know I had a niche because nobody was invested in urban America. So it gave me an opportunity to take advantage and really have competitors. Because you have to understand, if you start a business, who is going to be my competitors? Okay, so then after you get those steps taken care of, now I got to get a tight business plan. My business plan's got to be tight, because if I'm going to get investors, they're going to have to believe in a strategy, and you have to show them how you're going to bring them return on their investment. For me, when I announced HIV 21 years ago, some of the guys in the NBA did not want to play against me. So instead of getting upset, I decided to educate them about that you can play against a player with HIV and not worry about it. And since I was able to do that, I was able to stop the discrimination against people who are living with HIV or who are doing anything. So what I want you to take away from here today, make sure that you work with everybody, no matter what color they are, no matter if they look different than you, no matter if... Because discrimination is not cool. That's not a cool thing, okay? Can we do that? I'm a big believer in, if you don't dream it, you can't become it. I mean, look where you're sitting. You've done a wonderful job, and you remain a good man too, with all the success that you've had and your family has had. And just like myself, you had the dream that you could be something in life and do something in life. And so I was a big dreamer.
I practice my goals in various different ways. Or in the book is in various different ways. I practice my goals one way.
Every single night before I go to bed, I read 10 goals. 6 of them expire in 6 months. The other expire in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years.
So that gives me my vision of where I want to go, right? And I read them before I go to bed, so the last thing I think about when I go to sleep, and I read them when I wake up, so it's the first action I take.
The reason I read them before I go to bed is because science has said over 80% of the things that you think or dream about when you sleep is either what you fear or you hope to happen.
The reason I read them when I wake up is because it's one of those first actions I'm going to take.
They range from health to faith to business opportunities. And I never hit my 6-month goals because I make them so big. If I say I'm going to make 50 million this year, then maybe I'll make 30. Oh, poor me. Then I'll change it to 100 million the next year. Right? So, what is your why?
Why do you want to succeed? Because that is a driving force. Are you saying you're lazy, you're going, but my why is that I want to never work with somebody again, or I want to be healthier, or I want a more valuable life for my family. And a lot of times people have done the why for the wrong reasons, because society's told them to do it, their parents told them to do it. They're doing it for a bunch of people on social media that really they don't like. So when you find out your why, then you can start to understand how to craft to get to that objective and create goals and settings.
I think goal setting is one of the most important things that you can do in your life.
It's goal setting, and a lot of people have this goal like, I want $1 million. Well, what are you going to do to get the $1 million? And once you get to the $1 million, what are you going to do with it?
You manifest whatever you want it to be. We already know people that set different goals.
This business will never work. I'm going to stay in an abusive relationship. I can't leave my company. Sometimes you're allowing other people to set goals for you. You could be goal setting and making your goal negative goals.
Because if you don't set the goals that you want to accomplish, you're going to let other people set the goals for you, right? You're going to let them say that it hasn't been done before, the world is over, you're going to embarrass yourself, you're going to embarrass us. That didn't happen in our family.
And that's exactly what they do. They manifest that goal.
But I remember when I was 12 years old, I came in and I asked my dad, I was going to ride my bicycle. I used to ride my bike down to the local quick sack. It was about a mile down the road from us, and came in and asked my dad for some money to get an icy at the quick sack. And he says, how old are you? And I said, well, I'm your son, I'm 12, you know these things. And he said, well, that means you need a job, you don't need money, because that's where money comes from. He said, what could you do to earn some money? And I said, well, some of my buddies are cutting grass. I guess I could cut grass. And good, get in the car. So, true story, he took me down on Nolensville Road in the Woodbine area there in Old Nashville to a print shop. And the old-fashioned print shop that used to do letterheads and business cards. They printed up 500 business cards that said Dave's Lawns. And when we got home, he said, you go knock on the closest 50 doors in the neighborhood, and you ask them if you can have the opportunity to provide their lawn care needs. And I did it, and it worked. I got 27 yards to cut at 12 years old. I learned customer service, and I learned keeping your word, and I remember having all kinds of little businesses all the way through school. I made little leather bracelets that you would stamp people's names on and paint them in and sell them out there hawking them by the lockers, and I've just always worked. And so when I graduated from high school at 18 years old, I sat for and passed my real estate exam. Mom and Dad owned a real estate company, and so I started selling real estate while I was in school. And then I took off the other end of the state, the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, and took my license over there, worked for a guy over there, and I worked 40 to 60 hours a week while I was going through school. And I graduated from school basically broke, but not deeply in debt because I've been working.
Talking about millennials and money, and we've gone through some lessons. I don't know how many anymore. But let's continue on with another lesson here. And so we were talking about your assets and liabilities, right?
Yeah.
And when you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I said your house is not an asset, what did you think? See, I don't really care about my FICO score. A FICO score just basically registers, are you trustworthy with borrowing money? But a bank will never say, I borrow in the hundreds of millions of dollars. A FICO score not gonna get me there, okay? And so it's kind of a ruse. I mean, it's important, but not for me. So these are the 4 words, income, expense, asset, liability, and the last 2 words are the words cash flow. And that's why the game is called cash flow. And the secret to being rich is not a college education, but can you control cash flow?
I'd like to start with something funny. One day Adam was feeling very lonely. God said, Adam, I'm going to make you a companion. It's going to be called a woman. This person will cook for you, wash your clothes. She will bear you children, never ask you to get up in the middle of the night. She will always agree with you. And if you do have a disagreement, she'll be the first to admit that she was wrong. Adam said, wow, God, what will a woman like this cost? God said, an arm and a leg. Adam said, what can I get for a rib? And the rest is history. Say it like you mean it. This is my Bible. I am what it says I am. I have what it says I have. I can do what it says I can do.
It was here in California, Berkeley, California, on the corner of College and Alcatraz in a little restaurant called the Buttercup Bakery. After spending 4 years at the University of Illinois, in 1973, I came out to Berkeley, California, where I lived in my van on the streets on Hearst Avenue there, because I did not have the money back in 1973 to be able to afford a first and last month deposit on an apartment, and rent was only $200 a month back then. So I was living in my van on the streets for 3 months until I landed my dream job at the Buttercup Bakery, right, for $400 a month. Now, I wasn't just a waitress for $400 a month from 1973 to 1974. Oh, no, no. I was a waitress making $400 a month from 1973 to 1974, to 1975, to 1976, to 1977, 78, 79, 80, when now I'm essentially 29 years of age. All right, are you doing the math? Are you trying to figure out how old I am right now? I'm about to be 59. I look good, don't I? So anyway, here I am, all those years being a waitress, and I get this idea that I can open up my own restaurant and all I need is $20,000 to do so. So I call up my mother, I ask for $20,000, and she says, Susie, honey, that's more money than we have to our name. We can't give you that kind of money. I go into work the next day. A man by the name of Fred Hasbrook comes in. He said, what's wrong, sunshine? I tell him the story, how I want to open up my own restaurant. Before I know it, I leave there with $50,000 in checks and commitments that all the customers had gathered together and gave me, because Fred went throughout the restaurant that day and told them how I was upset because I didn't have enough money to open up my own restaurant, and they backed me.
More people are going to make more money in the next few years than have been made in all of human history. In the year 1900, there were 5,000 millionaires in America. In the year 2000, there were 5 million millionaires. That's an increase of 1,000 times. Now, there was a leveling off in 2001, 2002. In the last 2 years, the number of millionaires has jumped 33%. It's jumped to 8.2 million millionaires in America, and virtually all of them are self-made, which means they started without a pot to you-know-what in, or a window to throw it out of. And they've made it in one generation. When we look at the wealthiest people in America today, Warren Buffett, Michael Dell, of course, Bill Gates, Paul Allen, and the Walton family, all first-generation multi-billionaires. We have a $12 trillion economy today that is growing at the rate of $500 to $600 billion a year, and all that money is going through somebody's fingers, and your job is to make sure it goes through yours and some of it sticks. Is that a good goal for today? And my job is to show you how to do it. The good news is that all the answers have been found. Self-made millionaires have been studied exhaustively. They've been analyzed. They've been interviewed by the hundreds of thousands and millions. And what we know is exactly who they are and what they do and how they think and how they tick and the decisions they make and the things that they do and they don't do. And the wonderful thing is this: if you do what other successful people do, you eventually get the same result that they do.
It says the power of the present moment in meditation, so that's what I'm supposed to do with you. Now, this is not a meditation where you need to go because sometimes the moment one says meditation, everybody goes. You can't sit like that all the time, but it's always the present moment. So with the present moment meditation, it's something slightly different. It's an amazing thing, the present moment, usually overlooked. So the most amazing thing, I call it thing, of course it's not a thing, the most amazing thing in your life for most people in the normal state of consciousness, and normal means somewhat or very insane. In the normal state of consciousness, the present moment is usually overlooked habitually, unconsciously. People have been conditioned to overlook the most important thing there ever is, because your entire life consists of the present moment. There never has been anything else. Everything happened in the present moment, and when you remember it, it's the present moment. And when you think about the future, which of course never arrives as the future, it can only arrive as the present moment.